Hello, I'm Grant. Welcome back to Phrasal Verb News, where we use real news stories to teach you phrasal verbs and idioms in context. First, I'll explain the story in English, and then I'll break down today's expressions with examples. Y para ustedes, mis oyentes hispanohablantes, voy a dar la traducción al español y un ejemplo para que quede más claro. Let's get started. Today's story is about the airline industry. Employees of Air Canada have reached a tentative agreement to end the strike and go back to work after a tense few days and hundreds of canceled flights. Going on strike is when workers protest against their employer by refusing to work until they receive better working conditions. In this case, the flight attendants union went on strike to protest the lack of ground pay. In many airlines in North America, flight attendants are actually only paid when the plane is physically in the air. So all the work they do during boarding and deboarding is basically unpaid labor, which of course isn't very fair to the flight attendants. So here's a brief timeline of events. On August 13th, the union gave the airline a heads up or warning that they would go on strike in 72 hours. On August 16th, the strike began and 10,000 flight attendants walked off the job, causing massive cancellations. Over the weekend, the government stepped in and declared the strike unlawful, ordering the workers to go back to work. Thankfully, the workers stuck together and defied this order. From August 18th at 7 p.m. until 4 a.m. the next morning, the union, Air Canada, and the government pulled an all-nighter, negotiating and finally reached a deal at 4:23 in the morning. Now, they're not officially out of the woods yet. The agreement still has to be ratified or officially approved by the union members. But crews returned to work on August 19th, and Air Canada is now working to get back on track. Let's get into the vocab. I'll give you a couple examples and then ask you a question. If you can, try to pause the podcast and answer the question out loud or in your head. This will help you be able to remember and actually use the word right away. Number one, to give a heads up. This just means to give a warning or advanced notice. For example, just a heads up, the boss is in a bad mood today. Or in business, they gave us a heads up about the new policy. En español es como aviso, advertencia. Por ejemplo, me dio un aviso de que la reunión sería difícil. Number two, step in, meaning to get involved in a situation, usually to help or control it. For example, the teacher stepped in to stop the fight. The manager stepped in to resolve the conflict. En español es como intervenir. Por ejemplo, el gobierno tuvo que intervenir en la huelga, pull an all-nighter. This means to stay awake and work all night. Or, like I did in university, to study all night. For example, I pulled an all-nighter studying for the exam. The team pulled an all-nighter to finish the project. En español es como pasar la noche en vela trabajando o estudiar toda la noche, trasnochar, algo así. Por ejemplo, pasaron la noche en vela negociando el acuerdo. Next, we have get back on track. This means to return to the correct path or a normal process. For example, after the holidays, I need to get back on track with my diet. The company is getting back on track after the strike. En español es como volver al buen camino o retomar el rumbo. Por ejemplo, la aerolínea está retomando el rumbo después de la huelga. And lastly, out of the woods, meaning out of danger, but not 100% safe yet. For example, he's recovering from COVID, but he's not out of the woods yet. This project isn't out of the woods until the client approves it. Este es como difícil traducir en español, pero es como estar fuera de peligro, pero todavía no seguros. Entonces, por ejemplo, todavía no están fuera de peligro hasta que el acuerdo sea aprobado. So there you have it. This strike with Air Canada shows how quickly things in the airline industry can get out of hand, but also how people can step in, pull an all-nighter, find solutions, and get back on track. Gracias por escuchar. I'm Grant with Phrasal Verb News. Come back tomorrow for more news and more English.